Today إن شاء الله هعمل معاكم illustration على A Tale of Two Cities. هعمل معاكم الفيرست بورت ومستر وليد عبد المجيد هيعمل السكند بورت. Let's begin with the first theme, the value of life. قيمة الحياة. Number one, المين points عندي when the Marquis of Evermont's carriage killed the child. Number two, Saint Antoine. وثلاثة دكتور مانيت وفور سيدني كارتون. Let's begin when the Marquis of Evermont carriage killed the child. The Marquis of Evermont was so angry and more interested in his horses. This scene shows that the people of Saint Antoine, those people who lived in Saint Antoine, are very poor and their life has no value. The Marquis threw two coins, one to Gaspard, father of the dead child, and the other to Monsieur Duvarge. He deals with the dead child as if he breaks something. يبقى تاني, number one, when the Marquis of Evermont's carriage killed the child, the Marquis was angry and more interested in his horses. When he heard a scream, he asked his driver to go and check. His driver told him that the carriage, they ran over a child. The Marquis' first question he asked his driver about his horses. أول سؤال سأله له الحصانة بتاعتي أخبارها إيه. Then he saw someone, a tall man, was holding a child and screaming, dead, dead. So the Marquis threw to him a gold coin like a compensation, like a repay كتعويض لوفاة إيه؟ ابنه. At that time, Monsieur Devarge was beside Gaspard. He advised him not to be sorry. It's better for his child to die because of their bad conditions. The Marquis was so happy of Monsieur Devarge's words and he told him, "You're a philosopher, the philosopher," and he threw another gold coin to him. يبقى دي number one. Number two, Saint Antoine. Saint Antoine, it was one of the poorest ports in Paris. The streets were dirty. The poor people who lived there were uneducated, hungry, sick. They suffered from hunger. They suffered from diseases. They suffered from ignorance. The people there lived like animals. Even their shops contained only the worst of things, like knives and swords. The villagers' conditions were very bad. أحوال الناس كانت سيئة جدا. حتى تشارلز ديكنز قال the land seemed to share them their misery. الأرض بتشاركهم إيه بؤسهم. The people of Saint Antoine were suffering كمان من الهيفي taxes. الضرائب الكتيرة, tax for land, tax for church, دور العبادة, local tax, ضريبة محلية, و tax for the state, وضريبة للدولة. يبقى دي سان أنطوان. نمبر سي. يبقى بينت في سان أنطوان إن الناس were living like animals, their life ملهاش أي إيه قيمة خالص. أروح لدكتور مانيت و value of life. دكتور مانيت's story is about life, حياة, death, rebirth. اتولد من جديد. دكتور مانيت who was believed, تم الاعتقاد إن هو to be dead long time ago. He was found alive and was kept in the house of an old servant اللي هو Monsieur Devarge. كان Monsieur Devarge long time back. He was a servant for Dr. Manet. Number two, Dr. Manet was recalled to life. Dr. Manet was greatly affected by his long imprisonment of 18 years. He suffered mentally and physically. He came out of a prison with a loss of memory. He could remember nothing of the past. يعني he couldn't remember anything of his past, his name, everything, or even that he was a doctor. He believed that he was a shoemaker. Dr. Manek got used to being logged and obeying orders. دكتور منات احنا بنركز عليها في الفاليو اوف لايف، قيمة الحياة، لأن قلنا إن في ناس كتيرة their life was with no value. فكان لونج تايم باك كان في لتر دي كاتشيه الكينج لويس اللي هو ملك فرنسا give it to the nobles as a privilege، كان امتياز زي كان send anybody to prison without any trial. حياة الناس ما كانش لها قيمة، كان في break down of law، انهيار للقانون. فدكتور منات was one of those people who wanted to pastel، اللي هو سجن الباستل اللي كان بيدخله ما كانش بيخرج منه، اللي هو المعتقل ده. The value of life كمان عندي number 4 سيدني كارتون. Sydney thought or believed that his life has no value or meaning. حياته ملهاش قيمة أو معنى. إزاي؟ All the time he was depressed and in low a spirited all the time because he believed that he was unlucky. حياته كلها حطت في دماغه إنه هو unlucky and he was alone. إزاي؟ He cared for no one and no one cared for him. ما بيهتمش بحد ولا حد بيهتم بيه، وجوده زي ايه عدمه، ما كانتش الحياة ليها لازمة عنده. نوضحها كمان ان هو he hadn't been a successful man، ما كانش ناجح في حياته. He couldn't achieve success for himself، ما حققش نجاح لنفسه but doing it for others like striver، حقق نجاح للتانيين. كمان he sacrificed his life for the sake of Lucy، ضحى بحياته عشان خاطر لوسي when he was killed instead of Darnay. ليه؟ لأنه كان long time back he promised Lucy to do all her best to find her a happy. Okay؟ طيب يبقى ده number one the value of life. I'll move to number two resurrection. ده هيبقى عندي في دكتور منات بتوضيح وديتيلز أكتر. number one Dr. Manet's story is also about life, death, and rebirth. Dr. Manet, who was believed to be dead long time ago, was found alive and was kept in the house of an old servant, اللي هو Monsieur Devarge. Number two. In fact, Dr. Manet was recalled to life. He was greatly affected by his long imprisonment of 18 years as he suffered mentally and physically. He came out of prison with a loss of memory. مش فاكر أي حاجة طبعا. He could remember nothing of the past, even his own name. He got used to being looked up and obeying orders. يبقى number one اتكلمت عن theme value of life، قيمة الحياة. Number two resurrection. ونمبر 3 coincidence، الصدفة. عندنا هنا تشارلز دارناي وسيدني كارتون. نمبر 1 ديكنز. تشارلز ديكنز الاوثر الرايتر بتاعنا المؤلف. Dickens uses Darnay and Carton's similar looks التشابه as an example of a constance. Because of their similar looks, Darnay was set free in the first trial. تم إطلاق سراحه في أول محاكمة. As the witness الشاهد could not be sure which man he had seen. ما كانش عارف الشاهد أنهي واحد اللي كان شافه. This gives an example of coincidence because if Carton never wanted to the trial, Darnay might have gone to prison. This greatly affects the story. ده أثر جامد على القصة بتاعتنا إزاي. Because Darnay proved innocent which allowed him to marry Lucy. يعني طلع براءة، حب لوسي واتجوزها، والأحداث بتاعتنا بدأت. Number 3. Without Carton, Darnay's life would have ended as he was going to get killed by the Galton. However, Carton took his place. كارتون بدل نفسه معاه في الزنزانة بتاعته ولبس ايه؟ لبسه زي ما احنا عارفين. Number 4. The coincident played a vital role as Carton saves Darnay's life 2 times and it greatly affects the outcome of the story. Let's move to number 4. Number 4 مع مستر وليد second part. نروح للسيمبلز. عندي number 1 الريد واين. مهم جدا الريد واين عندي this wine that is spilled in the street outside the Vargas wine shop is red. النبيذ اللي وقع قدام المحل بتاع محل مسيو دي فورج كان red. So it will be the blood that will be spilled in the streets of Paris. The same street where the wine cask had broken was red again, but this time with blood. The description of the red wine filling the street and staining the hands and the feet of the people foreshadows the day when the same street, hands, and feet will be stained with blood. ببساطة خالص يعني الريد واين اللون الأحمر، الشارع اللي اتملى لون أحمر. وأفكركم كنا قلنا a large cask of wine was dropped and broken. تشارلز وضح لنا قد ايه الناس بتعاني في المدينه دي، فقال people left what on their hands, left their business and hurried to the spot, to the place. Some were taking نبيذ احمر، يعني ايه الايدين اتعصت احمر والوش والهدوم. Some were taking some free drops by their hands, some brought cups, with the others took off their clothes, put in the red wine, mix it with mud, then they put in their mouths. فايديهم كلها كان لون احمر، فالكاتب فور شادوز القى بظلاله وضح قد ايه اليوم اللي الثوره هتحصل فيه والناس الاغنياء هتتقتل، وهيبقى نفس اللون الاحمر، بس هيبقى ايه ده blood of the nobles اللي هم الريتش بيبل. يبقى ده عندي الريد واين. السيمبل التاني the marquis اللي هو الماركيز of ايفرمون. The Marquis stands as a symbol of the tough aristocratic cruelty that the French Revolution seeks to overcome. As he was one of the nobles who treated the common people as if they were animals. His cruelty is shown when his carriage ran over Gasper's child and killed him. Number two. The Marquis's carriage was running so fast at one of the streets of Saint Antoine, and same time there were young kids playing at the street. Suddenly there was a scream. The Mark asked his driver to stop, find out what had happened. The driver told him that they ran over a child. موتوا عيل تحت رجلين الكارج بتاعت الماركس. The Marquis was so angry and worried about his horses. He threw one gold coin to Gaspard as a repay, كتعويض, as a compensation, تعويض for his dead child. He did so as if he broke something and paid for it. رمى له جولد كوين كده لجاسبر تعويض على وفاة ابنه، بيتعامل معاهم زي ما يكون كسر حاجة وبيدفع ثمن. نروح للكاركترز. عندي نمبر 1 مدام دي فارج. She was the wife of Monsieur de Varge. She worked with her husband in his wine shop and was always seen knitting. Number 2, she hated the nobles because her family suffered much from them. The Evermont's family had caused the death of her brother, sister, and father. 3, she was fearless. She was of a strong character and a strong power of observation. She had a cat watchful eyes. 4, she was smart. She had no mistakes. She had no feelings of regret for wrong. 5, she was a leader, as she was seen at the head of women of Saint Antoine. When the revolution had begun, Pastor was burned and she was shouting, "We can kill as well as men." لما الثورة حصلت كانت بتجمع النساء وتعدى عليهم، وكانت أهات كانت على رأسهم وقالت لهم إحنا نقدر يبقى لنا دور كبير زينا زي الرجالة. We can kill as well as men. Number 2, Miss Pross. Miss Pross looked after Lucy and brought her up. She gave her the care and love which a mother would give to her child. She was ready to die for Lucy، تضحي بحياتها عشانها. ده الحب اللي أي أم بتديه لابنها لبنتها. She made herself a willing slave to Lucy's beauty and youth. Number 2, Miss Pross loved Lucy and her family. That love filled her heart with courage to save them اللي هي لوسي وعيلتها. As Miss Pross getting ready to leave, she found Madame Devorge. ده بعد ما الثورة حصلت. In the middle of the room, Madame Devorge started calling Lucy as wife of Evermond, but there was no answer. She started looking everywhere, but Pross stood in front of Lucy's room, prevent her from entering. مدام ديفارج طبعا كانت بتتكلم فرنساوي وميس بروس كانت بتتكلم انجليزي. الاثنين ما كانوش فاهمين بعض but الانتنشنز والبادي لانجوج، فكان باين الشر في عين ايه مدام ديفارج. نمبر 3 then started to fight Miss Pross. Miss Pross killed Madame Devarge accidentally. قتلتها as both women struggled and fought. Madame Devarge drew her gun. Miss Pross tried to knock off her hand. The gun went off. Madame Devarge was killed. So البارت الاولاني زي ما قلت لكم اللي انا عملت لكم illustration عليه كان themes the value of life، قيمة الحياة من خلال المسرحية كلها، الكتاب كله، ودي المين بوينتس عندنا. to resurrection. الثيم الثالث conscience، والسيمبلز ريد واين والتاني ماركي، الكاركترز مدام ديفارج وميس بروس. السكند بارت الالستريشن هيبقى مع مستر وليد، ثيمز بتاع الريفنج اللي هي هيبقى جاسبرد، ونمبر 2 لاف اند اي هيت، وهيشرح لكم كمان الموتيفز بتاعت دكتور مانات ومدام ديفارج. ثانك يو اند يعني اتمنى تكونوا فهمتوا كل حاجه. ثانك يو.